Um, I would like to first congratulate the team, Landscape Wizards, for organizing an event like this, because a lot of photography shows happening across India. But what I see is there is less importance to nature photography there, because it's either human emotions, or it's urban landscapes, or it is contemporary art. So I look forward at this platform to be one someday which is in par with all those other shows that's happening. And another part with all these shows is that they are always for the page 3 names. So here you find a lot of new names coming, and the budding artists working. I also thank them for giving me an opportunity like this. I'll give a small brief introduction on how my journey started. I did not start photography with the digital camera. I'm a little bit old in that way. I've been doing photography for past 25 years now. That doesn't mean that I'm very old also. I did not start with wildlife photography or nature photography. I started with all that small equipments, with travel and festivals and all those things. And during my studies in Bangalore, I came across a society called Youth Photographic Society, and association with them actually brought me into nature photography. And I've been mentored by a lot of senior photographers there, but I was always fighting with them, because they always had very strict rules for wildlife photography or nature photography, which from the beginning I never appreciated much. I am not telling that documentation is bad, but you have to look forward or beyond the documentation of nature photography. What I'm going to present here is a small section of my work. How do I relate wildlife photography and landscape photography? I don't believe that a wildlife photograph has a value if you take away the landscape, because it is just not about species. It is also about where they live. That is where landscape comes. I'm also putting forward a lot of questions in defining what is landscape. It's all questions. I'm yet to find the answers. I hope somebody would try in those lines and find an answer which they believe is true. Just next. This one? This one? I will not be the images here doesn't have a strict line of combination, but it's been photographed from various parts of India. The place is not very important. I'm not going to tell where I shot that and things like that. Maybe we can discuss later. But I'm only trying to portray an emotion which I experienced when I was there. The way I approach a situation is not very critically. I'm always in the landscape, and I wait for a moment which is a fraction of a moment, where there is the owners of that landscape comes into play. They kind of resonate. The surrounding, the movement of these birds kind of resonate the surrounding. They get immersed into that landscape, defining all the borders. I think it's a little bit bright there. I think it's too much of light inside.
Switch off the lights.
Moments like this don't come very often. Synchronized movements. Man coexists with wildlife. I don't know how this happened. It was very strange. It's also it's kind of barcoding wildlife. That's what's happening today. Coming in and out. Being a part of it. Hard to find where they exist. There's always a defining line, but they still exist there. And man made all these lines. Wait for that moment when they took off. The synchronized pattern. They live together, share the same space. Sometimes things don't need a definition. The surrounding landscape and them are all the same. Just wait for that moment when they all blend together. Protectors of faith. Who protects whom? Being a part of again. The scale they represent, still they leave a mark. This belongs to them. It belonged to them long back, and then man intruded. They still conquered it back. This is Kishkindapuri. Again, all being part of it. When the borders of earth and sky are diluted, the opportunists take the opportunity when it happens anytime. They hide so well who's helping whom. The reflections, they are all part of it. Being part of it. They blend so well into the atmosphere, but still defines the presence. We always look at landscape only from our perspective. The moment you start looking at landscape from their perspective, the borders of landscapes comes down. They're so camouflaged. That's the environment they lived in, or live in, or would live in. The horizon, it's all part again. I know it's very blurry there. No way it's happening that way. the light that plays. Sometimes they become the landscape. Conferences are held there also. Larger gathering. Sometimes the landscape defines them. Just wait for that moment. Blurring the borders, foreground, background. The form defines. They coexist with human structures, a part of an urban wildlife. Sometimes they are so immersed, you don't know where the landscape starts and where the subject happens. There's a round table conference happening. Thank you.